Since the last lesson, I've saved my project, closed Blender, and reopened it. You can see that now we have no images to work with. Shift-Control clicking on a node doesn't show us anything. This is because render data is stored temporarily in your computer's RAM. The RAM Blender is using is wiped clean once you close the program. If we don't save the image to your computer's hard drive, you'd have to re-render your image every time you opened Blender. While it is cool to have Blender's compositor so closely integrated with the 3D side, in this instance we'll have to save our render as a specific file format, then bring it back in using an image node, which will then replace all of our render nodes. That will kind of sever the connection between the compositor and the 3D viewport. Let's bring in the image node by hitting Ctrl-A, Input, Image. We have nothing to load into it yet, so I'm going to kick off another render. Now that the render is done, I'll go into Image, Save As, and choose a location for the file. I'm going to set the file format to OpenEXR multi-layer. This will save the image along with all the layers and passes. Now we can load our saved EXR image in the image node. We can flip through the layers and see how the sockets change depending on the passes we created. The guitar layer has all our diffuse and glossy passes, while the everything layer has our light groups. Now we'll go through the node tree and replace the render nodes with the image nodes. We'll have to plug in all the sockets as we did with the render nodes, but if you do this one at a time, it should be pretty straightforward. Keep duplicating the image node and changing its layer until you've got everything replaced. This way we don't have to rely on RAM, and we can close the program and reopen it as much as we want without re-rendering. Also, it should be noted that normally when you start your compositing, you'll have already saved your 3D render and can just start with image nodes. Another thing to point out is in the Output tab, at the bottom is a little panel called Post-Processing. It has checkboxes for compositing and sequencer. Compositing is obviously the compositor, and the sequencer is if you've been doing some video editing. The compositor box has to be checked if you want Blender to calculate your compositing node tree. And now, back in the compositor, when you hit Render, because Blender has been instructed to calculate the compositor, and there are no render nodes, it will skip over whatever's in 3D and just render the node tree. This of course makes rendering much faster. Make sure you've got that last node plugged into the composite node, especially if you're rendering an animation, since that's what Blender will output and save using the settings in your output panel. Next up, we'll clean up and organize our node tree a little bit.